Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Boone County Cryptids, where we chase the country's most chilling cryptid legends, one eerie story at a time. Hey guys, welcome back to Boone County Cryptids, and thank you for being here and thank you for watching. Just going to say if you guys have had an encounter and would like to come on the show, you can email us at boonecountycryptids@gmail.com. We're, uh, we're a safe place for you guys to tell your story, and we'll really listen to you and take it into account. And thank you so much. Guys, I've got a great guest tonight. You guys have probably seen this guy once or twice on some shows. I don't know which ones, but I'm just kidding. All right, guys, we've got Robby Jed Rains on the show tonight, and I'm going to bring him into the studio. Hey, Robby, how's it going, buddy? Can you hear
You
me?
all right? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know how.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Something glitching on my end, probably. How are you today, buddy?
I'm doing good. Doing pretty good. How are you?
I can't complain. Living the dream, as they say. Oh, you have a good day at work today?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
Kids minded themselves, so
Yeah,
didn't
that's
have a
always
whole
a good
lot
thing.
to do. I just kind of got to sit back and do a little work on books today.
Like, yeah, we like it when you put out the books. Speaking of books, you want to talk about your newest one and maybe some of the other ones you've got out?
Well, my newest one that's out in print right now is Howl of the Night Wolf, and it's kind of it could be a standalone, but it's definitely tied into all of mine and DA's books. It's got it introduces a new character, well, a whole new cast of characters, but at least one recurring character who may or may not be related to some other characters. I just kind of, when I finished book 3 of the Shadow Walker series, we DA and I had kind of talked and figured out the direction we wanted to go, but it wasn't. And I kind of started that book, but I was like, we're not really there yet, because he still had it. He needed to finish or get Leviathan down, the new Wild Hunt. He really needed to get that out before I put out this Shadow Hunters book. And I was like, well, I need to do something. I don't just need to sit around. And right. I didn't really discuss this one with DA because I didn't intend for it to be what it started out or what it ended up being. I just kind of intended at first for it to just be just a story, just because I wanted to do something, going back in time, kind of like he did with Dark Frontiers. Heck yeah. And I think that's kind of how he intended Dark Frontiers at first, was just to be just a standalone story that really didn't tie in that much, but it kind of evolved into its own. What that's probably his most popular series. Yeah. And I don't think that How the Night Wolf's going to do like what Dark Frontiers did, but I kind of wanted to do something like that. And after I did the first couple of chapters and sent it to DA, he's like, dude, he said, this has got potential to tie in. So we kind of started playing around with some things, and we figured out how to tie everything in, because he said, do you remember in Dark Frontiers, the Demon of Paladero Canyon, he said, remember Gideon was in Scotland around this same time, or shortly before that. I'm like, that's right, I forgot about that. So things that we had no intention of tying together, the framework was already there, so it just kind of became a prequel and a tie-in all at the same time. And I really had fun writing it out. We talked about it, and I was like, we might lose some fans because of the Gaelic dialect and things like that, but I told DA, I said, I feel like it's important for that to be in the book, especially when they're talking. Oh yeah. I kind of refrained from it during the narration part of it and tried to stay as modern with the English as possible. Obviously, there's some things that you had to kind of say in a different way. But I felt like I really kind of stretched my wings a lot more in that book than I did the first three. The first three were good books, in my opinion, but not like, I didn't feel like it was a professional author type. I felt like it was just still me telling a story that people happen to enjoy. But I felt like Howl the Night Wolf is actually my first true novel that I was actually able to put a lot of the stuff that DA taught me into use. I felt like it was leaps and bounds better, in my opinion, than what the first three were. Gotcha. So I really enjoyed it and had fun in that one. And when I think as good as this one is compared to the first three, when Grail Blood Oath comes out, I think it's going to really shock people, because when DA called me after he read the first 7 chapters, I think, of that one, he sent me a text message, said, "Hey, you up?" It was like 11:30 at night, but it was a Friday night, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still up." He said, "Meet me in the studio," and I'm like, "Oh crap, he hates it. But there's going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to change it, because he had given me permission to use one of the characters from the Wild Hunt series. So, and I'm not going to give away which character that was. I mean, obviously there's certain ones in there that you could probably guess, but there's one specific character that he said, "Hey, take this one and use it," because I think it ties in very well with what you're trying to do. So I took it and used it. So that I was like, "Oh man," he said, "First off," he said, "screw you for getting me invested in this book, because he said, "I can't wait for you to finish this thing." He said, "This is awesome." He said, "This is the best stuff that you've ever done." And I was like, he likes what? I said, I would have swore, that you hated it and I was going to have to change a bunch of stuff. He said, "No, dude." He said, he said, "This ties in so well," because about a year and a half ago, we were sitting in his backyard and we were kind of storyboard. And this before I even started writing, and before we even had any notion of us writing a cohesive shared universe together. We were just storyboarding his stuff. I was helping him with ideas and things like that. And he was like, "We've got to do something in Europe. Something's got to happen in Europe." He said, "If this is a worldwide threat that these things are bringing on us," he said, "we can't just keep having everything happen in the United States. We've got to have something happen over in Europe." Well, fast forward to now, here we are. And I think I've got the UK pretty much nailed down with what's going on over there. So, and it's, just a couple little throwaway things that he wrote for Demon of Paladuro Canyon that we were just like, "Wait a minute. Remember this?" Yeah. Okay, there you go. So this is the Grail series is going to be good. And I've got the first one done, and he's working on edits and layouts for that one now. Luca's got the cover done, and I'm, as of today, when I finished writing, I was 12,000 words into that getting ready to start chapter 7.
Awesome.
So it's been a good series. I've really enjoyed it, and it's really going to be like an Avengers in game type thing, because what started in the first book, the threat and who they're fighting, is carrying through with the rest of them. So it's not going to be like, they have one threat in this book, they take care of it, and they don't ever see that threat again, and then move on to another threat. This is just like an ongoing thing that's going to carry on through at least 3, if not 4 books. So,
heck yeah, I like it. I can't wait to read them. It's crazy how you can take,
like I said, hopefully.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, I was finished. I was finished. I said do what? Because I couldn't hear you. So go ahead.
Oh. I was going to say, it's crazy how you can take little, little one-line sentences out of past books, and you can build a whole book off that if you really want to. That's awesome.
Yep. Well, and that's where Grail came from, because Doc's character, all our characters were talking, because Rocky had asked the question of, are there other groups like the Wild Hunt or like the Nightmare Hunters? So Declan, Jed, and Doc are all going over all the other agencies or groups or whatever. And Doc says, and don't forget Grail. Those guys are crazy. Grail's the unit out from London. Out of the basically, it's fielded from British SAS, SBS, SRR, Welsh Rangers. Pretty much the equivalent of our Tier 1 Special Forces group from the UK. So, and there's a certain American character from another 3 books that I've been writing that actually has been seconded to that team, is now part of that team. You probably guess who that person or who that character is, but that ties that series in with the Shadow Walker series, and then there's characters coming over from the Wild Hunt and from Dark Frontiers and Apex Predators and Lakeview. I mean, it's just like DA stuff. There's tie-ins from every series, or tied into every other series.
Heck yeah, I'm ready to read them all.
Yep.
Your latest book, I've started reading it, and it's really good so far.
With the Howl of the Night Wolf.
Yeah. That monster in there is a kind of an a-hole. I won't give it away, but he got a guy right off the bat, and I didn't think that he was going to get that guy. So, but yeah, it was I think it was a show that you and DA, and I think it was Heath and then Luca were on. That night I just started writing. I haven't wrote anything on mine in about probably a month, but I've got to the part where people are going to start getting. I'm going to have to start killing people off. I haven't been able to do that yet, but I'll get there. But I'll have to send some more stuff over to you guys one of these days.
You kind of, and here's the thing, it's your story, so if nobody needs to die and you don't want anybody to die, you don't have to. But right. I'll get in that thing and I'll be writing them like, ain't nobody died in a couple chapters. It's time for somebody gotta get killed now. But it's just, and like you said, that's kind of how I did it, because DA's been on me for years now. And well, really ever since he and I become friends, me, him, and Doc. And I actually told him about the idea that I had. He's like, you need to write it. 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 And I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm no good at typing. He's like, dude, you've been typing reports for the past 29 years as a cop. You know how to type. You may not be a typist, but you can type. He said, all you got to do is write it like you would write a report. And I just kept putting it off and kept putting it off. And, I was laying there asleep one night, or trying to sleep rather. And all of a sudden it was just like somebody stuck a funnel in my ear and poured the first 3 chapters into my head, because it was like, I just started thinking, and all of a sudden it was like, I'm talking about Silver Star. I was like, he's riding around. He gets a call. He goes up to the edge of the horse pasture for a 911 open line. He goes through, house is wrecked. He goes out the back, sees a body, and the whole thing was just like playing in my head. And I'm like, that's actually not too bad. So I got up, went to work next morning, went in my office, started something, went and did my morning arrival, did my walk around and everything, sat back down in my office and just banged it out. And I was like, 3 chapters, right at 3 chapters. I'm like,
that's not too bad. So I sent it to DA and Doc to their emails, and I sent them a text in our little group chat, and I said, "Hey boys, why don't you check your emails and see what you think?" And DA sent me a message back. He said, "Did you write something?" I said, "Just take a look, see what you think." And he texted me back a couple hours later. He said, "Dude, this isn't bad." So the following Saturday, I don't remember if you were in the chat that night when he read that first chapter that I wrote.
I think I was.
That following Saturday show, at the end of the show, he read that chapter, and I was sitting back going, "Oh God, everybody's gonna hate this." And I was because I sat there the whole time like this. If people was in there and watched, remember, I was like, and I was just watching the chat, and I was like, I was just waiting to see people say, "What in the world? This is stupid." And but it was just more and more people like, "Okay, keep going. This is good. We like this. Keep going." And I'm like, "Huh? Maybe they actually do like it." And then when he said at the end that it was that I wrote it, and everybody was like, "Okay, where's the rest of it? We're waiting." And I'm like, "Well, maybe there is something to this." But still, the entire time that I was writing that book, it didn't matter how many times Doc or DA or anybody that I had doing my proofreading told me how good it was. I was like, "This is not. I mean, there's nobody ever gonna buy this." That first month, I made like $545 off that first book, and I was just like bored. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "There's this many people that want to read something that's up here." So I tell you all that to say, don't sell yourself short.
I appreciate
you got a lot of lessons. You got a lot of lessons to learn, which I did too. And I'm telling you something from a place that I sat not long ago. I sat there and listened to a lot of stuff that DA told me. I was one of his alpha readers for a long time, so I kind of had a little bit of a head start like that. But I told him the story, and I'll tell you. The other day, I had to go back. I was writing a scene for something, and I'm like, what did I say for this? And I had to go back to Silver Star for some reason. I can't remember what it was that I needed to know. And I went back, and for whatever reason, I opened up, and I didn't even know I still had it, but I opened up the original manuscript, the one before DA went back and formatted it and edited it. It was just how I wrote it. And when I looked at it, it was basically just like written in longhand. There was no indents. The dialogue was, it was in quotation marks, but it wasn't its own stuff. I mean, it didn't look anything like a book. It was just like, you start writing something down, and maybe you hit another paragraph here and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I can't believe I did that. And that was this year. So you've read most all my books. You can see the journey in less than a year. So don't sell yourself short. You got lessons to learn, but just learn those lessons. Apply, especially if this is something you want to do. Now, if you just want to put the stories down just because you've got a story in your head and you just want an outlet for it, it is what it is. But if you're wanting to do this and put it out there, just learn the lessons. Not that but any way I can help you, I'll be glad to pay it forward to you, just like DA did for me, and DA's the same way. But don't sell yourself short. I did, and I still do. But so
yeah, we're always our own worst critic.
A good premise. Oh yeah, but you got a good premise for a good story. Like I said, you just got some lessons you got to learn, and I still have lessons I've got to learn. I'm learning every time when we sit there on Monday Mayhem. I'm sitting there going, that's why he does that. That makes so I'm sitting there. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, them two know what they're doing. I'm still struggling through it. I mean, if I didn't have DA and Ryan Glenn that works for me at the elementary school, and the ones that are my wolf pack readers that, like Sentinel, I'll send him the updates, and he'll screenshot and circle stuff and tell, hey, here, accept versus accept. You screwed this one up. I mean, so without people like that, I wouldn't be where I'm at with it. So get yourself some good people that you trust that'll give you.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Well, I appreciate it.
Heck yeah.
I'm just trying to live up to that reputation that because DA's like, oh, no, you're not. I said, no, I know I'm not in competition with you, but I said, I have Darkwater Endeavors on my book, so I have to live up to that expectation of what you got and what you've put out. So,
yeah, I understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah. Don't sell yourself short. Just if it's something you want to do, keep after it. Because it's not something that comes quick or easy. And, some people can look and say, you got, 6 books out in less than a year. Yeah, but I've had the first 3 Shadow Walkers book and this first Grail book. If you combine all 4 of those books, that's really the basic storyline from the original story that I've had in my head for 20 plus years. So this is not like something that I just jumped into. I've had some version of that story in my head for that long. But it was basically encompassing that whole entire 4-book series. Shadow Walkers or Silver Star, Creature Escape War Swamp was kind of sort of a little bit of a deviation, but there were still parts of that were in my, like a lot of the Native American stuff and the back and forth and the walking the light path versus the dark path. Maybe not so much the lizard man part of it, but a lot of that aspect that was in there. 100% the book that you're in, the Wampus Cat stuff, not that particular thing, but the journey from how he went from South Carolina all the way to England. There were people he met along the way. So Gatlinburg was a place that he actually went to in the original story that I had in mind. So, like I said, you take all those and put them together, and that's the story that I had. So I was able to kind of break it up over 4 books, but I finally got that whole book out. So,
yeah.
And where I'm at now is just a continuation.
You're doing a fantastic job, man, and I appreciate you putting me in the book. That was an honor.
Yeah, huh? Thought you deserved it. I mean, not like
I don't know about all that, but I
big
appreciate
deal or nothing. Yeah. I mean,
I really.
It's funny though. Do what?
You go ahead. I think there's a lag on my end or something. I don't know what's going on. I apologize for that.
That's fine. I just say it's funny, that, and I got people around here that I would never have thought about it. They're like, "Why ain't I in the book?" And I'm like, "I didn't know you read my book in the first place," And I got people that some of the ones at the police department that still lie to me about this stuff are like, "Why ain't I in the book?" I'm like, "Well, that's all you do is make fun of the fact that I believe in Bigfoot. So why would you think I'd put you in the book?" Right. I mean, I can put you in there and have you killed by one of the monsters if you want me to, but it's funny. They're like, "Well, I want to be in the book." I'm like, so, that's why I've always put the ones that weren't like, "Hey, where am I at?" The ones that don't ask are the ones that I put in and gave bigger parts to.
Right. But, so, Robby, why don't you tell us where you can find your books at, bud?
You can find them on Amazon under Robby Jed Rains books, or you can just put Robby Rains books. DA is working on the nightmarehunters.com, and once he gets all that fixed, then that's going to be like a one-stop shop for all of our stuff. His books, my books, the Dark Angel medical stuff. Steve, like links to Steve's that boba tea, I think is what that shop that him and his wife have, him and Rachel. Just things like that. But for right now, Amazon's the best place to find them.
All right.
And also, I guess Audible too. They're all on Audible.
Yeah, I like that they're on Audible, but I try to buy the Kindle version. And,
yep. And I'll have anybody that's coming to the Ohio festival the DA and I are going to be at. I'm going to have copies. If he can get book 5 done in the next few days, I might have time to have that one too. But I for sure will have books 1 through 4. I'll have 10 copies each of books 1 through 4. I've got 1, 2, and 4, or no, 1, 3, and 4 that have made it. So I've just got to order my 10 copies of book 2. And we'll be there October 23rd through the 25th, I think. And that's in Mercer County Fairgrounds, and I think it's close to Greenville, Ohio. But DA and I both will be there. He'll have books. I'll have books. He's speaking. I'm speaking. I'll be teaching a tracking class. He's helping me out with that. It's a pretty good little festival. It's one of the best ones that I've been to. So, and it's Thursdays. They got the meet and greet on Thursday night, and Friday, all day Fridays is the event at the Mercer County Fairgrounds, and then all day Saturday.
So what is the name of
vendors and
what's the name of that one?
I think it's called
Robby?
the Spirit of the Forest. The Spirit of the Forest Bigfoot Festival. If you look online, I think they use Eventbrite, but you look at Bigfoot Ohio Festival or Bigfoot Festival OH, I think is. But they'll search Bigfoot Festival OH. It'll come up, or you can even search Spirit of the Forest in Ohio, and it'll come up, and you can get your tickets on Eventbrite. If you buy your tickets, you can buy tickets and get like all inclusive, where you can get tickets to the tracking class, to all the speakers, to the meet and greet, and all that stuff, and you can just get it all in one shop, or one stop rather. So,
heck yeah,
come hang out, say hey to me and DA, get you a book, get you a picture, whatever you want. I'll have some other stuff. I'll probably have some hats and some coasters and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start prepping those this weekend and having some of the new podcast logo, the Nightmare Hunters.
heck yeah,
I'll have some of those up there. Just hang out. We had a great time last year. We met Kevin Bode came and hung out with us, Casey Calloway, and his wife Angel. So, and some other really cool people. Wayne Tothrow is going to be there. Russell Acord from, I think is it Destination Bigfoot, or
I think it's Expedition Bigfoot.
Expedition Bigfoot. I think it was something that, but he'll be there. Who else is going to be there? Nance from Buckeye Bigfoot will be there. Miss Naoma will be there telling stories again. It's a fun time.
Sorry, if you can hear my
anybody's in the area. Yeah.
Can you hear my dogs in the background?
Yeah. They sound like they're wrestling around like my dogs usually do.
They are. My male Doc Holliday, my male husky, he tried to get into the picture just a second.
He just want to say hey.
Yeah. So, Robby, why don't you tell us a little bit about Lone Wolf Customs while we're at it?
Well, here we go. Like Lone Wolf Customs, I do hats, like the coasters I showed, the laser engraved things like this. No, I didn't do that. That's Hawaii Wolf, Crystal, and all other stuff. The coasters and things like that I do. Business cards. In fact, I'm doing a Travelers Rest PD right now. They just ordered 50 Miranda cards. I'm working on those. As soon as I get off here, going back in there to the laser room and working on those.
Heck yeah.
Oop. There I am.
I can see you. You're just frozen up.
You know, stuff like that. That's a piece of cherry. So pretty much just any kind of custom things like that. I can really, I keep it keeps black. Am I coming off the screen or what?
No, you're there. You just stay frozen sometimes. That's
Okay.
all right. It's all part of the experience.
Yeah, I can still do knives. I'm not taking on anything new right now with knives because my son-in-law future was going to help me and he got a new job, so I'm doing everything by myself. So I've got like 5 blades that I'm working on by myself right now, so it's taking me forever to get them done. So I may do one every now and then, but it's not the books are way more profitable than the knives. Now the other stuff, if that's something somebody wants, custom order or hats, ED Testerman got a bunch of hats from me and some business cards. You should be at some point getting unless you've already got your moderator's hat, you're getting a moderator's hat from DX Machina. I did those.
Thank you.
Let's see some other coaster examples here. Like this is one of the black ones with some blue color on it from the Shadow Walker's book.
Heck yeah.
There's a Dark Angel Medical. I think the black ones look really good. I'll have some of those up there. There's a Wild Hunt. That's from the Howl the Night Wolf. That's the Wolf Head Gnar. There's Dark Frontiers. And let's see, where's the white ones? So I'll have a good selection of all these up there. There's the new Nightmare Hunters. DA says that's Valkyrie.
Heck yeah.
Another Dark Angel in white. Another Dark Frontiers in white. Just a custom Gadsden. Don't tread on me. And then just playing around, did one with my patch for my department on there just to see how it would look. So, I mean, there's a lot of custom stuff I can do and things like that. And I'll have, like I said, I'm gonna put together like a set of 4 for coasters to bring up there, and I'll probably do some one-offs of just 1 or 2 or one thing that's, if somebody wants just one of something. I think that's about all I've got in here that I can show. Yeah, and like I said, most of the wooden stuff back there. That's about it. But
that's all awesome stuff.
Send me an email if it's something. I try. It's more about that stuff right there is more of a hobby now. I've kind of got into the book stuff. This was something I was pretty proud of that I had one of those old. I used to go to Myrtle Beach when I was a kid, and I got one of those set of shark jaws, and I was like, I found it the other day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make something just goofing off. So I laser engraved the shark on one of those circle like that, and glued the shark jaws on there. I thought that's pretty cool if I just something to hang up in here.
That's awesome.
It's all about being creative, that's what writing's about. It's just being creative. Getting an idea and putting it down. So exactly. I'm working on turning my daughter's old room into my office / podcast room and all that. So once I get that done, I'm gonna spread all this stuff out, put my bookshelf up, and put all my books and all my stuff, all my little dock and little white and all the Fungo Pops for all that stuff up. Just a place to kind of sit and have, have a nice place to kind of sit and enjoy sitting and talking about all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
that's like the ultimate man cave.
Well, I mean, it ain't like she's going to come back and use the room anymore. She's about to get married, so I figure it's time to turn it into a office, and I'm going to turn my son's room into my laser engraving room.
So, there you go.
Where I do all my projects and stuff.
Heck yeah. Well, Robby, you're not just an author and a podcaster and a laser engraver. You've had a few cryptid encounters as well.
Yeah, you could say that.
You've had a few.
More than a few. I've had more than a few, but yeah, had a
couple
with you.
Well, you did. You care if I ask you a few questions about your first encounter when you were a kid?
Ask away.
All right. But when you were looking out that screen door, you know, I can't remember how old you were, 10 or 11 years old, probably. What was the first emotion?
About 8 or 9.
8 or 9? Okay. What was the first emotion? Was it fear that hit you, or was it shock and awe?
Well, I mean, the first emotion was, well, I don't know if you call it an emotion, because I didn't really know what I was looking at. So I guess confusion. I don't know if you can really classify that as emotion, because, you know, while I'm sitting there looking at this and watching it move, you know, it was doing the back and forth like that, just trying to figure out. But once everything clicked in my brain, once, you know, like I said, once that paradigm shift happened and my brain missed that gear and I realized what I was looking at, then yeah, fear was definitely the prevailing emotion that hit. But you know, the very first thing I remember was being confused. It was like, what am I looking at?
Right.
And then it was like everything just kind of shifted into focus, and it's like, oh, I saw what I was looking at, and then I'm like, and then it all hit me.
How tall and wide do you think that thing was when you were looking at it?
It had to be at least, now wide, I would say probably 4 feet wide at the shoulders or more, give or take. Like I said, it was dark outside, so really it was hard to see everything. Like you could see, like as it was moving, you could like see like the center part of it, but I could never see like the actual points of the shoulders where the shoulder stopped because of the sway in motion. You know, maybe I saw one of the shoulders actually roll into the screen door or in frame of the screen door, but it was so wide while it was moving, it was pretty much taking up the whole screen door. And those things are what, 3.5, 4 feet wide?
Yeah.
At least 3 feet. They're at least 3 feet wide, you know, whatever a standard door is. But as far as tall, you know, like I've told the story, that's back when, especially a sharecropper or somebody who, you know, that's what he did for a living was, you know, raise crops. You had your land. You didn't have big excavators and dozers and things like that come in a lot of times and flatten and level the whole. You know, you brought the house in, and if this side was down low, you were fine. But if this side was up high, you know, you stack block up till the house was level. You know, you may have one run of a block on this side of the house, but on this side of the house, you may have a 5 or 6 run high a block. So the side that it was standing on was the high side, and it had one of the bottom of the screen door itself was probably about 4 feet off the ground, maybe 5, somewhere around in there. And the middle of its chest was above the center bar of you know, those old screen doors had top glass and bottom glass, and then that little center part where you could raise and lower they call them storm doors, you know, where you could raise the glass up and a breeze could blow through the bottom. So that middle section, that's where its chest was. So the top of its head was at the top of the door, you know, like it was like probably right there, because it looked like it was kind of bent down a little bit looking in. And that conical shaped head, kind of like what you see in the Patty video. So I would say if I had to put a guess on it, you're probably looking at something at least 11 and a half feet, maybe taller.
As Doc would say, that's a big youngin.
Yeah, he said that a couple times to me about that.
Yeah. That's a big boy. Or girl, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you had your first encounter when you were pretty young. When was your next encounter? Was it when you're quite a bit older, right?
The next one that I actually remember that I think was an encounter was probably, I would have been probably maybe 25, 26, somewhere in there. We went up to Jocassee Gorge, and it was me, my stepdad, my son, and my uncle. We all went up there. My uncle, which is my stepdad's youngest brother, he and I have always shared that belief, and that's something that he's like 5-6 years older than me. So he's, like I say, he's my stepdad's youngest brother, but he's pretty close to me in age as far as that goes. My dad's the oldest of 7, and so we're pretty close. And he used to go up there and camp a lot, do primitive camping, and he'd have a lot of encounters up there. So he called us one day and said, "Well, let's go up there and hike around, see if we can find something." So we went up there and was walking the trail, and we kept hearing what we thought. And this was before I'd heard the Sierra sounds, all that stuff, but at this point, I hadn't gotten into it. I believed in it. It was interesting to me, but I hadn't really dove in head first like I have now, if that makes any sense. So I had never heard the term samurai chatter or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't know what that was. But my Uncle Scott and I were kind of walking back behind my dad and my son, and my dad kept turning around saying, "Do y'all hear that? Do y'all?" We knew we were the only ones there because there was nobody else in the parking area when we got there. So there was nobody ahead of us, or at least nobody right close ahead of us that we should have heard talking. But Dad kept turning around saying, "Do y'all hear that?" And we were like, "No, what?" And he was like, "It sounds like people talking." Well, I guess my uncle finally kind of heard what he was talking about, and he said, "That's them chattering." And so where we were at, there was like the trail went around along the base of a cliff, and it went probably, I don't know, 60, 70, maybe even 100 feet up. So we were kind of right there at the edge of it. So my Uncle Scott told my son and my dad to keep on walking a little ways, and me and him were going to kind of just squat down right there beside or at the base of that cliff and just kind of see if we heard anything after they walked on. So they kept on, and they just acted like everything's fine. They kept talking and acting like everything was good. And me and Uncle Scott just kind of sat there and didn't say a word, just kept quiet. Well, all of a sudden, stuff started hitting the ground in front of us, like rocks and the big chestnuts and acorns and stuff like that. And it wasn't dropping off trees. It was like you could tell it was being lobbed because the way it hit the ground. We never saw anything, never heard anything other than them hearing what they described as samurai shit. Because here, after I started getting into it and started learning stuff, I went back and talked to my dad, and I said, "Samurai chatter." And he said, "Samurai chatter." So I played him a couple. He's like, "Yeah, that's exactly what we heard." So they were ahead of us a little ways. They were hearing that, but I think that the ones up top, they knew that my Uncle Scott and I had kind of stopped there, and they were just kind of throwing that down, saying, "Yeah, we know you're there." So that was my next encounter that I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But it was nothing visual, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
What you? That's typical Bigfoot behavior from what I've heard and read and watched videos about. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the first time you came to Missouri with DA and went to Joe Bald? Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, that was an experience. Because up until that point, Johnny and I had some stuff, nothing really like serious. I mean, we had a couple sightings. We got paced out of the woods and some things like that, but nothing like we saw. Well, we're both pretty sure we saw one up at the top of that ridge, standing behind that big boulder. We're both pretty sure of that, but it's just standing there looking at us. There was nothing. I mean, it was great. We think we found parts of or partial tracks, but nothing like intense or like world changing at that point. So fast forward to when I came to Missouri the first time, and going down there at first, DA was like, "Oh man, this place is a hotbed," and I'm like, to me, I'm thinking, what I'm used to and things that I'm used to up around here. So I'm like, well, how could it be, or how amazing could it be? Because this is what I'm used to. So that first night, we're driving to Joe Bald, and he said, he kind of turned to me and he said, "All right," he said, "I want you to tell me." And the biggest thing to me was I was wanting to go and see the place because I was like, still am, was a fanatic with all his books. To me, it was just like, this is cool to come and see these places that the books wrote about. I mean, you and I even talked about that when we were, I think when we were, the time we were at Combs Ferry during the day. It's surreal to be in that spot where all this stuff happened. So that, to me, that was what I was keying in on at first. But he turned to me and said, "Hey, I want you to tell me when you feel we're getting close. I want to see," he said, "because I did the same thing to Doc, and I know where he said he felt it." I said, okay. And you've been there wide. You know how the place is, so it's not trying to explain anything to you.
Actually, I haven't been to Joe Bald.
I thought you'd been to Joe Bald.
No, I've just been to Combs Ferry.
Okay. Well, anyway, with the exception of LBL, I've never been to a place that felt as oppressive as that place. At least that night. Now, we've been there on certain times where it just felt like a normal place, but there's other times that it's like everything's just like pressing in on you. A lot like LBL is, but it's kind of the same way when we started getting that feeling that night at Combs Ferry. Same thing, especially there towards the end when we were out there, and we're all like, it's time to leave. That was the way it felt. Yeah. Once you look at the time, that's the way it felt as soon as we got out of the car. Same thing when Doc was back and all of us went down there again. We got out there that night, and I got out of the car. I was sitting behind Doc, and so we got out on the same side. And he stepped out and looked this way, and I was looking this way. We both turned around and looked at each other, and we just had that same look in our eye. I said, "We ain't the only ones here." He goes, "Nope." And we both just got that feeling at the same time. There was just something there watching us. And, some people call BS on that, but if you've been, Doc was a combat medic, DA was a police officer and was in the military. I've been a cop for 30 years. You get that, you learn how to get that or to listen to that. DA likes to call it your lizard brain. I mean, I just call it your sixth sense, your basic primal instinct, whatever you want to call it. You learn to listen to that, and it gets home when you get into those situations, because that's a lot of time that's what will pull you out and keep you alive in those situations. So we both just kind of got that.
Or it's Noah being the Robby Wrangler.
Yeah, that too. Because I don't listen to it and I go off after it. But so anyway, we got to a point, and I'm like, I looked at DA and I was like, "Ooh, we must be getting close, right?" And he turned back around and looked at Noah, and Noah said, "Yep, right about the same spot. So I had first time I'd ever been there. Doc had already been there, roughly around the same spot, and this is at night too. So it's not like I was looking at or could see signs or anything like that. It's roughly the same spot. Doc and I both were like, "Yeah, we're getting close to this place." So we get there that night, and I get out and I'm walking around. I'm looking, obviously the tracking or the tracker came out at me, and I'm looking for places where I can find tracks. But the lake was down pretty good bit at that time. So all those round river rocks that make up the bottom of that lake, I'm sure you've seen them because they're all the same all over that place. But those round rocks are about that big around that'll break your ankles if you ain't careful when you're walking over them. See them all over the place. Well, that was also the night of the 24-hour service van. That just said 24-hour service. Not what kind of service, just 24-hour service. There was one coming out as we came in, and there was another one. It was sitting on the when you drive in, there's a parking area, then there's the boat ramp. It was sitting sideways, like the boat ramp goes in this way. Well, the van was parked sideways across one of the ramps, and I can't remember if the light was on inside the cab or not on, but you could tell there was a light on inside the box,
right?
Because you could see, like I said, it was probably 10:30 ish, somewhere around in there when we got there, and so you could see a stream of light around the top of the box. And me and D were like, that's kind of strange. So we pull up and go over to the complete other end. It was on one side, so we go all the way to the other side. Well, sure as world, that thing starts moving and got a little bit closer to us. That's strange again, but whatever. Walk around, I see an area, this perfect little track trap, just kind of like where we saw all that mud right there and that over at Combs Ferry. Exact same thing. I see it and I'm like, and I start walking for it. As soon as I start walking for it, DA said, "Hey, is that what I think it is?" I said, "Yep, that's mud." I said, "I'm headed that way." And I get over there, and I have never stepped on soil that had this kind of weird composition. It's like you'd step on one area of it, and it was as firm as stepping on asphalt. And you'd pick your foot up to make your next step, and it's like you'd sink 12 feet. And then you take the next step, and it'd be firm again. And then you take the next step, and it'd be squishy, not where you'd sink, but it was weird. But so as I'm trying to navigate around that and looking, I turn around and look to my left, and why, I kid you not, I've never in my life, I've seen them on TV, but I've never seen a print like that was that amazing. It was probably about that long and about that wide at the widest part. But it was, kind of a little ways. The area itself was probably 10 by 7, maybe 10 feet long by 7 feet wide. So it was kind of like right in the middle. So I'm shining my light on it, and I yell for DA and Noah. I said, "Hey, boys, get over here." So they come walking over there, and DA's like, "What?" And I said, "What does that look like?" And DA says, "Holy crap, that's a big footprint." And Noah was like, "Holy crap, I've never seen anything that good." Well, as we're looking around for that, we see a canine print about that big around, just a little ways away from that. Big canine print. Well, I had gotten in, went to the hotel, unpacked. They came and picked me up. We went and got supper, went back to their house, and then left and went out there. So we didn't have any casting materials or anything with us. So we're like, DA's like, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "What are we going to do?" And DA's like, "I tell you what," he said, we left, or when we left, we were going to go to Blunt Road. But DA said, no matter what, he said, we'll be back. Noah and I'll be back over to our hotel 7:00 in the morning. We're going to go to Walmart or wherever we need to go, Lowe's, Walmart, Home Depot, whatever, get us some casting material. And then we're back over here. We're going to cast this print. And like I said, at this point, it's probably closer to 11. Like, what's going to happen to the print from 11 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning, or, 8 o'clock in the morning by the time we got back over there.
Right.
Like, yeah, that'll work. So we kind of oriented ourselves, make sure we knew where we were at, or we could walk back to it the next morning. And we kept start looking around some more. Well, that's when we saw the eye shine, and that's when the Robby Wrangler was born, because I was going towards it, and Noah was like, "Go get back over here, get back over here, get back over here. Here, come on, this thing. There's something over there." Because we all three cleared leather at that point. Truck's still over there, but and then the eye shine just vanished. And DA's like, "Where did it go? Where did it go?" I said, "It didn't go anywhere. It's still here. It's like right there." So the next day is where we found that hunting blind, which basically like a bird nest turned up on its side. So anyway, we hung around there for probably another 30 minutes to an hour, somewhere around there. And DA said, "All right, well, you want to see Blunt Road?" I said, "Yeah." So we take off down there, and that's where we found the deer head in the middle of the road. Hung around out there for a little while. Left, and I think he took me around a couple more places, like showed me some of the spots that were in Ragnarok Rising, showed me where the jail was, and just a couple places like over there's where Wiley got the gun from the gun and the badge from the sheriff and all that stuff. They take me back to the hotel. 7 o'clock, they're back over at my hotel. We get up. I think we ended up having to go to Lowe's. Me and Noah go in, get the plaster of Paris, come right back out, and literally by 8 o'clock, we were back over there. We parked, nobody there. Start walking over towards that area, and as soon as I get within like 20 yards, I'm like, something don't look right. Get over there, and there's a freaking tire track right through where that track was. But the way the track was, where this was nowhere near where cars would be driving for any reason. The track literally, you see it goes straight through you can see where it went straight through where the track was and stopped just as the front tires got in it. Then you could see where the tires, where they were pointed straight when they went through, you can see where it stopped, and they turned and back straight out. So it's just a single line that went straight through, turned, and backed out. And that's it. They didn't even go through the entire and try to make it look like it was somebody four-wheeling. It just literally stopped once it went through the track.
That had to be that band, right? Or they?
Oh yeah, or somebody they called in with a four-wheel drive to do it. But I think it was that, because if I remember right, it looked like, because it was, obviously those are dualies on the back. And I think, if I remember right, we saw on the very back side of it, you could tell where there was two tires right beside each other when it started backing up. So I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
They had to be sitting there listening to you guys talk or something. This show is for entertainment purposes only, by the way.
Oh yeah, 24-hour service.
Heck yeah. Yep, that's what they call it these days.
24. Yeah, 24-hour footprint removal.
Yeah. Well, Robby, I know you probably don't have a lot more time tonight. Do you think you could come back on for a part 2 sometime?
Oh yeah, be glad to.
There's a lot more things that we can talk about.
Oh yeah, we got plenty we can talk about.
Oh yeah. Maybe I'll get you and DA to both come on at the same time so we can talk about Combs Ferry and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know what happens when me and DA get on together and start talking though. Train derailments usually tend to happen.
That's perfectly fine. I enjoy the train it would be something else if the train derailments weren't any fun, but the train derailments are usually pretty fun. So,
yeah, we try, especially when it's me and Doc derailing the situation.
Yeah, I've got a lot of good laughs out of you guys.
Oh, we've got a lot of good laughs at each other too. So,
I'm just glad to have you guys on the podcast and be able to be in the chat and talk to everybody. I always enjoy it. So, well, anyway, Robby, I thank you again for coming on the show.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it was a good show, and like I said, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your day. Oh yeah, Robby, if you don't care to hang back in the backstage for just a minute. And I'll meet you there in just a second.
All right, man.
All right, guys. That was another episode of Boone County Cryptids. Just want to thank Robby for coming on the show, and he's a real good guy. I've always enjoyed talking with him, and I got to meet him a couple times, and I really enjoyed that. Now, guys, if you would just keep our law enforcement and our armed service members, keep them in your prayers, because they go through a lot of things that a lot of us people don't see every day. And it can be tough mentally and physically. Just remember them. And guys, just keep our country in your prayers, because we really need it right now. There's been a lot of bad stuff happen in the past few weeks, and just pray for our country. And guys, go check out all the good shows that are out there. The Nightmare Hunters with DA, Robby, Doc, and Steve. Mysteries Unknown. The Cryptid Podcast, Squatch and Holler, Woodwalkers. Like I always say, there's too many to sit here and mention. I could be here all night talking about all of them. They're all really good shows. But guys, if you've had an encounter and would like to be on the show, just shoot us an email at that email running across the bottom of the screen there at booncountycryptids@gmail.com. And guys, even if you've had an encounter and you don't think it's very significant, it is significant, because it takes all the pieces to put a puzzle together. Every encounter is a piece of the puzzle, and it takes all the pieces to put them together. Until next time, guys, thanks for being here. Have a good night.